Hello everybody, Eric Apricot here. This is part 4 in my beginner-friendly series on basketball strategy. In honor of the thrilling overtime win by the Valkyries over the Sparks, let's look at the strategic battle around ball screen defense. It's the fundamental part of any team defensive scheme. A ball screen is whenever the ball handler has a teammate come over to stand in the way. That's called the screen. And then they dribble to make their own defender run into the screener. In theory, that means that they will now be free of their defender and have an open shot. One possible response is for the screener's defender to switch assignments and start guarding the ball handler. And then the ball defender will just switch assignments to the screener. That's called a switch. That's exactly what happens on this play. Mercedes Russell is now guarding Carla Leite. You might think problem solved, right? Everyone's being defended. Well, no. The first problem is that Carla Leite is 5'9", and Mercedes Russell is 6'6", which means Carla Leite is faster and more agile than the bigger Russell. And Monique Billings is 6'4", and Julia Allemand is 5'8". Billings is quite a bit taller than her defender. So the Valkyries exploit this mismatch. Billings goes straight to the paint. Carla Leite throws it to her. In this case, Billings has inside position, so she has a clear layup. But even if she didn't, she's so much taller that she could probably just shoot over the defender. So that's the downside of the defense switching. You often get mismatches of size. Here's another example of a switch. Julie Vanloo sets a screen. Kelsey Plum volunteers to switch assignments to Carla Leite. Sims is going to switch over to Vanloo. Everyone here is 5'8" or 5'9", so there isn't a size mismatch. But Leite considers Plum a speed mismatch, and she just turbos her way by Kelsey Plum for the sweet layup. So in general, defenses usually want to avoid switching because of the mismatches that happen. The second reason to avoid switches is that they take a lot of coordination and it's easy to mess up. Let's look at this crucial play down the stretch. Plum and Hamby are setting screens. This is called a stagger screen or a double screen. And the ball handler is going to come across. Leite had been covering Plum, but she jumps out to switch on to Sims. Unfortunately, she did not communicate this to Veronica Burton, who thinks she's still guarding Sims. So that leads to confusion where Leite has now switched. Burton is still following Sims. Kelsey Plum says, "See ya, wouldn't want to be ya." Takes this flare screen from Hamby. Nice pass over the top. Temi Fagbenle has to properly switch onto Kelsey Plum. So because of this bad switch, the Valkyries are forced into switching into a mismatch. Kelsey Plum 5'8", Fagbenle 6'4", and Plum uses her speed and agility advantage to throw up this nasty step back three that could have been the game winner. Because of the problems with switching, lots of different defenses have been developed. Let's look at how the Valkyries defend this ball screen. Hamby steps up to set a screen for Kelsey Plum. Fagbenle jumps out and bumps Plum and challenges her drive. Plum lost control of the ball. And now that Fagbenle has delayed Plum, Fagbenle is going to recover back to her original mark, and Leite is going to return to covering Kelsey Plum. This kind of defense is called show and recover. The Valkyries used show and recover as the base defense. Here's another Hamby screen for Kelsey Plum. Fagbenle, guarding the screener, jumps out to stop Plum from turning the corner. Plum took the long way to get around Fagbenle's show. So Fagbenle says, "I guess the show is over," and she recovers back to her mark. Hamby and Leite has time to catch up to Plum. Unfortunately, Plum finishes a tough jumper, but sometimes Kelsey Plum does stuff like that. So when the screen defender jumps in the way of the drive, that's called a show or a hedge. Terminology isn't standardized. Some people make the distinction. A show is when you want to string the driver along side to side to give the defender time to catch up. And a hedge is when you really aggressively get out and make the driver stop or even turn around. Other people distinguish by saying a show is at the level of the screen and a hedge is when you get up higher. There's all kinds of subtly different usage. Okay, we've looked at show and recover, and we saw the Sparks switching, But those switches were not the base defense of the Sparks. For most of the game, they played what's called drop coverage. Fagbenle setting the screen for late. If this is a switch, Hamby would just take over responsibility of late. If this was show and recover, she would already be up here and jumping out, but she doesn't do either one of these. She's dropped all the way back here. So she's saying, you want a piece of me? Come and get me. She's making it very hard for late to get all the way to the basket because she's so far back that she has time to react to whatever late does. This defense does have the obvious weakness that late could dribble up to the line and just shoot a three-pointer. So you wouldn't do this defense on Steph Curry or Kelsey Plum or Sabrina Ionescu. But Carla Leite, rookie who hasn't hit a jumper all game, no problem. That gives Late's defender time to catch up to her, but Fagbenle cuts behind her defender who's still here containing Carla Leite, and that gives Fagbenle a free run to the basket. Good pass over the top from Leite. Fagbenle maybe didn't realize how open she was, so instead of taking the layup, she hits Kayla Thornton in the corner for a very open three and a very open plank. Here's another example. The Valkyries call this play 325, and it's exactly the same as the Warriors play 55. I'll talk about that in a future video. They set a stagger screen across the top. Fagbenle is screening up here, and Hamby is just chilling out at the free throw line, just waiting for all this stuff to sort itself out. She's in drop coverage just in case Late zips by, but Late's defender Plum is fighting through all the screens and does actually catch up to Late. Now Hamby can recover back to Fagbenle, her original mark. So let's look at the start of overtime. Fagbenle setting a screen for Veronica Burton. It looks like Stevens is in the usual drop coverage, right? Wrong. Both defenders are going to jump on Veronica Burton. This is called a trap or a blitz or a double team. And this trap is really well done. No one is in position to help Burton get a release pass out, and they knock the ball loose. Next play, Fagbenle sets a screen for Burton. Stevens again looks like she's in drop, but surprise, part two, it's another trap. This time Burton was alert enough that she's able to dribble around the trap. Stevens knows that the game is up, and she recovers back to her original mark. Now what are they going to do? Well, Burton knows the last two times she called a screen over, she got blitzed. Not in a fun alcoholic way, but in an unpleasant basketball way. So she says, I'm just going to attack Plum in isolation, and she muscles her way to a big layup. So that became the Valkyries' main counter to the trap, to not use screens at all and to run isolation plays. Coach Nakase waving everyone away from Burton, and I don't know why Temi decides to step up and set the screen. It just felt like the Valkyries thing to do, but then Nakase just starts waving like, what are you doing? I just told everyone to evacuate. And Temi goes, whoops, sorry. Unfortunately, the whole play took so long to set up that Burton is starting to run out of time, tries a couple moves on Plum, and then throws this hand grenade to poor Kayla Thornton. Isolation isn't a very efficient counter to trapping. As the Valkyries have more time to play together and plan together, I expect to see more sophisticated responses. So before we look at Kayla Thornton's dagger 3, let's look at a very similar play. Fagbenle setting the screen. Remember that for most of the game, the Sparks are playing drop defense. So Hamby is dropped back here, waiting to receive Vanloo. Vanloo's defender recovers to her. In the meantime, Fagbenle set the screen, and now she's rolling to the basket. Hamby is trying to recover to her. Luckily, she's got her pal Sims over here to step in and tag Fagbenle to keep her from being completely open. And that's going to leave Carla Leite open in the corner. Unfortunately, Vanloo throws it to where Leite should have gone. Leite should have lifted up here to make this pass easier for Vanloo and also to get her farther away from the recovering Sims. But she did it, and so that makes for a clumsy pass reception. And now Leite just has to make something out of nothing. In contrast, here's the same play in overtime. Fagbenle sets a screen for Leite. Remember, in the last play, Hamby was waiting over here because the Sparks were playing drop coverage. But now in overtime, remember, the Sparks surprised the Valkyries by going to a trapping defense. So Hamby is right here, ready to pounce on Leite. And here comes the Blitz. In the meantime, Fagbenle set the screen and she's rolling, just like last time. But last time, Hamby was here and she could chase down Fagbenle while the corner defender could just sneak a little tag you're it and then step out. This time, there's no Hamby over here. So this corner defender has to fully commit to switching onto Fagbenle. That leaves Kayla Thornton open in the corner, and she does lift up to make this pass easier, so that even though this pass is a moonball that probably hit a spectator in the upper deck, she's still so insanely open, she has time to write her own memoir, probably called Remembrance of Time's Splash, haha. And she drains this cold-blooded 3, which seals the game. Let's wrap up this video with our traditional celebration audit. Okay, pass is on its way. Let's check if there are any premature celebrations. And look at that. Julie Vanloo absolutely beats the traffic, throwing up the 3 even before Thornton fully catches the ball. Monique Billings coming in a very close second. Pretty good for a new roster like this. Oh, Stephanie Talbot rolling in with a 3rd premature celebration. Ball is still in the air. It still counts. And all credit to Talbot, who's been out of the rotation, but she's still been cheering her teammates hard. That's a good teammate. And Julie Vanloo is going for a kind of funny stoic face, and she's cracking up Talbot and cracking up Billings. I don't know what to call this, maybe Belgian stank face. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And if you didn't enjoy this video, I promise I'll do better next time.